All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of Here's How I Blackboarded. We're gonna be kind of going off the kind of beaten path. I did all these maps in order so far. I decided to try out Dark Path for this map just to kind of spice things up, try something just a little bit more difficult, as well as the fact I did want to try out some tower buffs today. The one I wanted to try out was Pop and Awe. If you didn't see the kind of massive rework Pop and Awe kind of got this update, it's pretty huge. Basically, what Ninja Kiwi decided to do is they did reduce the damage, the general bonus damage that it got, but to compensate for that, they increased attack speed massively. Basically, the bombardment ability on the tier 4 is basically permanent on the tier 5. This is a pretty significant change overall, as Papinal has always just been kind of a meh tower. Even with all the kind of extra damage it got, I never really felt like it was too good. But this change is pretty huge and actually makes it somewhat viable. Also, Balloon Buster got its damage increased from 2 to 3. This is, of course, going to be helping out Papinal just a little bit more in terms of the damage department. Unfortunately, Ninja Kiwi didn't really add anything to the bottom cross path of Papinal 052, so 052 is still the worst cross path just kind of overall, but regardless, it's still pretty nice that, Papinal, just kind of a mediocre tower like that, actually is somewhat viable now. So the reason why I chose this map, because as you can see here, the balloons enter from here. They kind of loop around, I think like either once or twice here, and then they exit to here. And so it's basically kind of like Moon Landing, but just like a tad bit shorter. And I already blackboarded Moon Landing, and Moon Landing is a pretty easy map, so I didn't really kind of want to redo that. So I figured that Dark Path is probably the next best choice in this scenario here. Anyways, first things first, you actually have to save up for kind of mortar in general. And this is kind of a weird map to start on, just because there isn't really kind of a lot of tower space to really put for good spots. Like Dart Monkey here, I think is in kind of a weird spot, but you can't really put Dart or any towers like here. You can put a tower here, but that range is just so small that it's not really kind of worth putting it here. If I had Quincy, I think this would be just a tad bit easier, but of course I brought Jones because of course you'd bring Sharky Jones when you're kind of going for mortared strategies. I did do some testing in challenge editors to make sure I actually got a general start down, just that way I'm not spending like, I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes trying to optimize round 1 through 40, because those rounds are kind of boring. If I'm being honest, they're definitely the weak point of Chimps mode, but once you get past that, it's pretty standard and pretty interesting. So the start that kind of found works is, Dart Monkey here, zero base sniper here on strong. Then when you have the money, you place down another sniper, and then of course you can set it for Jones from there. Of course, other heroes I think would be better. I think Quincy is a pretty solid option. Also, seems that we are dead, unfortunately. Yeah, Quincy would definitely be my choice here if I wasn't actually going for mortar on this one, just because if you place Quincy here, he can see a decent part of the track. So get mortar on round 19. We got it just a little bit earlier, as I did skip out on very quick shots. I figured that I'd probably do just a tad bit better, since mortar can hit targets multiple times while Dart Monkey can't. But I do have Jones' ability if yellows and pinks do give issue, but seems that nope, pretty easy. Thankfully these snipers aren't completely useless, as I can turn them into main mobs later on, which will help out just a tad bit for popping off, as it does still get extra bonus damage to stun balloons. It's just not as much as it was before. As you can see here, Balloon Buster smashes through 3 layers at once. It's got a pretty significant buff, as that means that mortar doesn't turn leads to black balloons, it actually turns them into yellows, I believe. And so that does mean it has a bit of an easier time against lead balloons. Now I am kind of curious to see if I can save up for artillery battery right now. It's only like 5.9k. Although I probably will have to get this guy to shrapnel, just because camos are going to be an issue. If I am going to skip out on upgrades and camo, I probably should get something to see camo. Not going to go bouncing bullet. Do want to turn this into MAME later on, and I will get very quick Josh just to help out again against camo rounds. 33, I feel like Dart Monkey could solo, but the camo whites on 37, I believe. I don't think Dart Monkey can solo those. Also, Jones does have a new ability called Target Focus. So for 15 seconds, Mortar Monkey's target touch/cursor with increased accuracy. Pretty interesting ability. I mean, I don't really know how useful it really is going to be. This might just because, you know, since I played balloons on PC for so long, I am kind of used to just pressing tab whenever I want to retarget, so I guess it can help, but for me personally, I don't think I'd really ever use it. I mean, I guess it would be interesting for Battles 2, but I do believe that Battles 2 has a different mortar targeting from BTD6 as well. Although I haven't played that game in forever, so I can't really remember. 36 is pretty easy. Again, that 3 damage per shot coming in clutch, turning the pinks into blues. All right, artillery battery coming pretty soon. This is gonna be my Moab defense. And then next things next, I think we'll go for village, as I do want to get camo on this guy ASAP. Round 42 has camo rainbows, I believe, and those might be a bit of a problem. Then we'll get village like here, I guess. I'm not really gonna be getting too many other towers here, as I have faith that Papillon can solo basically most of the most of the waves here now. I'll use the bombardment ability just to help out just a little bit, and I think we could honestly coast after getting jungle drums up until Papillon. I think I will get Alchemist just to help out a little bit. I think Alchemist can keep up with the attack speed of artillery battery until you use the ability. I think is when the attack speed is too fast for Alchemist to keep up, but I still will get it. It's not really as big of a buff because the damage is now going from 3 to 4 instead of from 2 to 3, but it still is worth it in my opinion. And the great part about this map is that since there's such a big range and loop for mortar to attack in, I don't actually have to do as much mortar micro as I did on Peninsula. And I think when I did that Peninsula run, I think that was kind of the last time I actually used Poppin' Off. That run was sort of to show off the Absolute Zero bug, because there was a bug at Absolute Zero at the time, with Permafrost ability, I think it was. And so that was the last time I used Poppin' Off, and that run took like a little over an hour to do, just because once you got to around 81 plus, each round I had to manually target and constantly retarget mortar, and so that really just kind of slowed down the run just in general. That's really just kind of like the main flaw with mortar towers, I believe, is that, you know, no one really likes using mortar just because whenever you have to use mortar, it just kind of takes forever. And so personally, I don't really like using mortar, especially Poppin' Off, since I can't really kind of set it in place and forget it. But I think after this buff, if you have like a decent loop that Poppin' Off can attack in, I think you can just kind of sort of set it and forget it. You still have to do some targeting, especially when you get to stronger balloons like ZOMGs and whatnot. But, you know, for kind of these, you know, easy mid-game rounds, artillery battery can easily take care of this. And I haven't had to use the bombardment ability since round 40, and I don't even think I need to use that ability on round 40. As with just Jones's ability, that gives mortar plenty enough time to be able to pop down regular mobs. I think once we start seeing fortifieds, I think that's when I'll have to start using bombardment. But until then, I think we should be chilling. And I do like that Poppin' Off did get some love, as I did feel like Poppin' Off was definitely kind of the weak link out of the 3 tier 5 mortars. Balloon Sin I think is okay, it's just difficult to save up for because it's so expensive, and Shattering Shells isn't really a good stepping stone into Balloon Sin. Biggest one, of course, is biggest one, that's pretty decent. Poppin' Off was just kind of left in the dust. Even though like artillery battery is pretty good mid game, as you can see here. It's just that the tier 5 is so bad, and once you get to kind of round to 81 plus, you don't really want artillery battery around because you have to constantly manage it, and the damage you'll be doing just doesn't really keep up with other options at that point. And so now you actually have incentive to go for artillery battery for mid game, and of course Poppin' Off for late game. Now I'm curious to see if I can afford Poppin' Off before 63. I think I can, as I'm pretty close, and there's like 4 rounds before I can actually before round 63. That's when you get to see the massive increase in attack speed, and I think this is probably a round where I'm gonna have to micro mortar just a little bit. I think I might even have to use bombardment, which is fine. Either that, or I can just honestly wait until the BFB pops into Moabs, and then I can just use the striker stun there. It seems that, yep, we got it. 61 might be a bit of a challenge, but we are pretty close to Poppin' Off, so I think it should be fine. Let's stun now. And then once we get that down, the attack speed should make a pretty big difference. I'll just even use this ability just to, all right, there we go. And as you can see, fast forward turned off. Look at that attack speed. Absolutely insane. Of course, this does mean that this is a bit worse when it comes to Alchemist. Alchemist definitely can't keep up, but I think we'll have enough money to afford Permabrew. As again, we got this on 62. We can honestly just coast until around 80 plus. So I think Perma Brew is what I will go for. Get a permanent +1 damage on this. And of course, 63 absolutely gets melted. Not even close. Now, while this is, I think this is a pretty good change. This does kind of sort of rely, mortar is still map dependent. I think just because these guys looped around just like once or twice before actually exiting, this definitely does play into Papana's favor. I think kind of a straight line map that doesn't have a bunch of loops. I don't think Papana is really going to be that too impressive, but it still is a pretty decent tier 5 now. Of course, this does now beg the question, or not beg the question, this kind of leads into the question of power creep in BTD6, but I think that's kind of a question I'll answer some other day. On one hand, I do think it is nice that, you know, some towers that are just either straight up bad or just aren't used are actually now viable. Of course, this does have the unintended consequence of other towers, of each time a tower gets buffed, it kind of gets a little bit better than it really should. Pirate Lord is a recent example that I can think of. I mean, it's still pretty good, but it definitely does now kind of outclass Carrier Flagship now, to the point where I'm not really sure in what situation you'd want to use Carrier over Pirate Lord. And when I think about it now, the Balloon Buster change is kind of interesting because this change was definitely aimed at specifically Papana, as, you know, Balloon Incineration already does so much damage that the main attack doing 3 layers doesn't change anything. And I think the main damage over time, the main damage from Balloon Incineration is from the Wall of Fire, as well as the Fire DOT that Balloonson has. And, you know, for mid path, of course, Balloon Buster was always the best. Top path, this doesn't really change anything just because, you know, big one does what, 7 or 8 damage. Biggest one does, I think it's like what, 20, 30 or something like that. So this Balloon Buster change definitely was aimed at Papana. So I am kind of curious to see how Ninja Kiwi is going to balance bottom cross path, because there really is no reason to go for increased accuracy and burning stuff for Papana. Also, fortified BFBs here, I'm having a bit worried, so I am going to use the stun here. Haven't had to use the ability for Papana yet. It's a good sign. Might have to use it for around 80, as ZOMG does have a lot of health. Also, the unfortunate thing about tab targeting is the fact that this mortar panel is kind of in the way. When this pops into BFBs, I think that's when I'll use the Papana ability. That just melted those BFB insides. I think I can just honestly leave this in the center and the BFBs will just get popped easily, just like that. I think the only thing that's worried me is like ZOMG rounds. I think maybe rounds like 87, 85 might be a struggle, as I don't think we'll afford Papana by those key rounds here. We'll definitely have it by 97, so I'm not too worried about 97. 2 fortified ZOMG shouldn't be too bad. Okay. Fortified BFBs, slightly worrying, so I'll use this ability. I'll use Jones, and if I have to, I can use Papana's ability. And I do have Jones level 10 to reset the cooldown for that, so I don't mind doing that if I need to. We're pretty close to Perma Brew at this point. And I think once we get Perma Brew, we'll just kind of lean into support, so I'll just get these guys up to main Moab. And then we'll probably need help out for around 100, just because Papana, I don't think, still does enough bad damage. So I'll just, so maybe get like a quick Spike Storm down. And put that, make sure to get that in range of Perma Brew so we can get that nice buff. It seems that for BFBs and below, we can demolish those pretty easily, which is pretty nice. Alright, so we're like 3k off, and we still don't have Perma Brew. 85 might be a bit of a challenge. Let's make sure we can actually get equal damage on the ZOMGs, just that way they pop kind of roughly at the same time. I definitely will have to use Papana ability here. I'll use Striker's Stun. Come on, pop that ZOMG, and then we can use Papana. And then that should just be the end of that. 86, I don't think should be too bad. 45 BFBs shouldn't be too worrying, and I think we can get Perma Brew in the middle of this round, and I think that will be that. And since we have Perma Brew, I can honestly go for Overclock real fast just to increase the attack speed even further, but I think I'll hold off on that. It is tempting, but I don't know if I want to do that. Commit that hard. We still don't have it in time for 87. That should be fine. Mortar ability has come up, and if we can handle 2 ZOMGs, I think we can handle 4. This just definitely will rely on Papana ability. We popped one of them, I think. 2, I believe. It's not really ideal, as I kind of want to pop them all at the same time. So I will have to use, didn't mean to pause there. We'll have to use this a bit early, which is not ideal. Okay, we popped down to Moab, so that's fine. We can easily beat this. All right, Papillon has been, or Perm Brew has been acquired now. So we'll enjoy that increased attack speed. And I think now we'll just go for 2 maims. I'll this guy on first and the other one can just be sound strong. Just that way we can have both our bases covered. And I think this is honestly all the support we would need. I don't think we'll need Sabo for 95, I believe. And I think Jones gets 19 next round, so he'll have it in time for DDTs. I was kind of hoping he did, because if he didn't, I would have to spend money on a MIB, which I don't really want to do. Either that, or I can just hope and pray that that Striker's stun and popping on ability can do enough damage to DDTs, even if it's only like half damage it's doing. All right. When DDTs come on the field, I'll use Striker's stun and then I'll retarget up. And I think I can just fast forward. 91 shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, BPs just get melted. Let's get this guy on strong first, so that way I can get that going. Make sure that all the towers on the field actually have a use. I didn't really mean to use that. It should be fine. Mobs are done. So I think we can just focus on the ZMGs now. I think I still will have to use popping on ability. That's fine. 93, those DTs shouldn't be too bad. All right, Jones has reached max level. That's pretty good. Level 20 double damage might go crazy. Is that what's like, what, 7 damage now? So I guess if we ever run into a problem round, I guess 98. Yeah, I didn't really think about 98. I think that's when we'll have to use Joan level 20, just so we can get the double damage on that round. I don't think we'll need it for 99 for 45 DTs, as if I just keep the popping on ability up for that round, we should be fine. As long as that if we have the popping on ability, we should be okay. So I'll have to make sure I don't use that ability towards the end there. I can freely use popping off for this round, as 95 does take a while to kick in. Question is, do I need it though? I mean, like I do need it for the ZMGs. Just make sure we take down all the BFBs first, and then once this gets down to BFBs, that's when I'll use popping off. We did pop some. I'll use it now. Okay, so ability wore off. That's fine, and this shouldn't be too bad of a round. I would like to have Moab Glue, but Moab Glue can't see camo, so we'll just have to roll with this. I wonder if I could get Overclock in time for round 98. I think the answer might be maybe. Let's just do this immediately, and then if I need to, I'll use this now. Just why not? Hitting the pause button. And it seems like all DTs weren't even on screen yet. That's fine, because if we can just get ahead of the wave, you know, it shouldn't be too bad. All right, pretty easy there. Now, as much as I would like to get Overclock, that doesn't mean that's one more ability I do have to manage, which I think managing 3 abilities is more than enough for me. I think I will get working on Spike Storm, so let me just put this here. 96 is kind of like a litmus test for 98. It's just less dense, and of course, PFBs aren't fortified here, so I mean, if we can beat 96, I do have faith with 98. 97, I don't really want to use popping on ability for that round, but I probably do. Fortified BFBs give me some pause there. And since we're kind of so deep into the run at this point, I don't really want to restart this. Perfect. And I think I will go for Overclock. I will have enough money for, like, I will still have enough money for Spike Storm, I do believe. Also, I just realized that 2 main mobs basically kind of permastall. Permastall the ZMG, so that's nice. Also, I get this here just for the slow. Yeah, so I was kind of worried for no reason. The only problem here is I won't have OC off cooldown for 98, so I'll have to wait for that. Let's do that. Okay, so we're popping a lot of the 45 BPs. That's good. Oof. It's not really looking too good. I feel like there's definitely a lot of mobs here. And okay, so we popped all the ZMGs. I think that's fine. As long as we can beat down the BPs, I'm okay with this. All right, nice. This does mean we get to save abilities for 99. So let me just overclock immediately, just because 99 is pretty fast. I did not mean to use that ability there. I didn't get this up immediately. Hopefully that's fine. Actually, we're doing some pretty decent damage to it, so it should be fine. Spike Storm, and that's buffed by Permabrew, so should be getting mega damage. And who knows? I'll just use Striker Jones' ability just because. And then that's that. And I got a Call to Arms as my reward. Pretty nice reward if I do say so myself. But yeah, that was that. Popping off pretty good, doing basically 99% of the damage there. Pretty close to getting 2 million pops at that, just like a little ways off. But regardless, yeah, you know, popping off is pretty good now. It's a pretty decent tier 5 at this point. You know, you have the bombardment ability from tier 4 is pretty good. And the tier 4 tower, not too bad. And then just popping on is a pretty good stepping stone into now. And so that's really all to say about it. Pretty good change. I do like it, approve it. as the Person 87 seal of approval. And yeah, that's that. Have a nice day, everyone.